Welcome to the JudgeMental Podcast. We were there for the recusal motion in Shelly Sentry's courtroom. Can you imagine a scenario in which I'm ever wrong? No, because it's not happened on this podcast. I win.
About her not recusing? To be fair to me, I picked the opposite side just to pick the opposite side.
Let me be clear. I win, society loses. Like every single bet we've had.
That is true.
I want
that
to be
is
wrong.
True. No, that is absolutely true. And I thought, I mean, you're more cynical than me. Is that possible? It's a little scary.
I texted you Sunday, and I was like, I have the Sunday scaries, and I haven't had those in a minute and a half. Like, I did not. I just had a feeling. And y'all, yesterday in family court was truly one of the craziest days of my career.
It was totally different for me. I went there to see one thing and ended up seeing much more, as we'll talk about on a future podcast, but it is interesting. You were definitely feeling that Sunday, and I had no feeling whatsoever. No dread, no anticipation. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't miss anything. There wasn't nostalgia. I didn't dread going in there. I didn't have those old feelings like before you're in a big trial where your stomach's, has butterflies. It was just, this is a place I needed to be, and I was watching something. It felt very neutral. It was strange.
I have this paranoia because I have this addiction to two things: sparkling water, electronic communication, and I have two phones and a Mac, and I am petrified that one of them are not going to be on like silent and are going to go off, or I'm going to be doing something and the court is so mad at me they're going to throw me in jail. So I always like check my devices like 3 times before I go in there. And so
just getting out and looking at it constantly.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, I try to kind of live update.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Which we can't. They won't let us have them.
I miss those days. I don't miss having them all together. I hated it when I was trying to find one case, but it would be great for transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was not in Division 2, Judge Sentry's court, but in a later division. I was sitting there, and each case I was taking notes, and each case I was thinking, oh God, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something we can talk about. And then the next one would happen. Then the next one would happen. And then shit got crazy. And
really crazy.
It would be really something for us to be able to play all of those things back to back to the back in the way that we saw them. But yeah, alas.
They know if the public saw what happened. I mean, y'all got to think about it like this. So there are 10 motion hours that are happening. If the public even saw one of them that was randomly chosen, they would be very concerned, would be an understatement. Do you know what I'm saying?
You know, that might be an interesting reform.
Yeah.
Just to have a motion hour picked each week, just one, and it's at random, and the judges don't know who it's going to be, so that you might think that somebody is going to see how you act at motion hour. And of course, that doesn't apply to everybody who holds a motion hour. Like, we didn't even go to some because we generally are bored when we're sitting in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Only specific ones that are routinely, I'll put it this way. There are ones where I will guarantee we will find some content if we go sit through just one motion hour. We almost never sit through the entire motion hour even.
Yep.
Like, we're leaving before it's over.
And like, before we get into Shelly, double down. Again, I win. First off, it was weird. She was remote.
I think she wasn't feeling well, but I don't know.
Personally, and this is my personal opinion, I do not like judges not being in the courtroom. I think if anybody needs to be in the courtroom, it needs to be judges. But I'm open to, I guess if you got a communicable disease or, whatever.
I'll take the opposite side.
Shocker.
The judges should be there. But if there is the choice between I'm off, I'm not going to have motion hour, and everything gets rolled to the next week and gets piled up, or I'm not feeling well, and I'm not coming in and getting my staff sick. So if my only choice is to not conduct the motion hour, but I can actually do it remotely and move some cases forward, I appreciate the effort to do that.
It was one of those, I think I said to you, if the general public saw this, they would be mortified because it was like good old boy club, like stupid little jokes.
Yeah, we saw different divisions that I think the general public would be appalled by for very different reasons. One was just bizarre, unhinged conduct, and the other was so over the top, laid back, casual, polite, and that's intentional, but that it just, I don't know. I know that it rubs both of us the wrong
Yep.
way. It may not rub everyone else the wrong way, but this, I mean, the demeanor and the way that things are handled, if you're coming in and you are pro se and you see attorneys being treated the way that they are, it just feeds right into, oh, everybody's just all part of one system, everybody's in on it together. And I understand wanting to not make it a nasty, not
Yeah.
make family law any nastier than it is. Everyone is in that court because something's going on in their personal life that sucks.
Yep.
Nobody is there unless you are getting a hearing date on an adoption or something like that. It is very rare you're in there on anything that you're happy about.
Yeah.
So that I get that you're treating everybody, you're trying not to be nasty and make it worse, but it's
Fake AF.
yeah, just the whole everybody, I'm just
Yeah.
blah blah blah, blah. It's just like this. It's still court. It's still court. It needs to be a court of law. It needs to be, I don't know.
It's almost like it's my personal opinion that it is Shelly just rubbing it in that it's one big club and I am the queen. I mean, when I tell you she was not the queen before, she was really, really likable and a good attorney, which doesn't make you popular in the GAL, FOC, BFF with judge thing. I mean, in my opinion, she was cool as shit. Like,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
now it's like I'm a queen of like Mean Girls. It was embarrassing as a female to watch. And then like this one attorney is like the kid in school who asked a question for the sake of asking a question.
oh yeah.
Those people make me want to punch a puppy.
Yeah, and everybody knows who those people are.
Yes.
Just like
Yeah, it's pitiful, it's pathetic, blah, 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 blah.
in law school, we have this game called Tort Bingo we'd secretly play. And there was this teacher who everyone kissed her ass.
Mm-hmm.
She was an adjunct and she had a cool job and all of this. And we had there were just the people that always spoke up, but they did so even more in her class. So you would make a bingo board and you would put the names on it. And if you got bingo, you had to ask a hypothetical and use the name bingo in it. So of course it was always a dog bite hypothetical, but that's how you announce to everyone else playing that you won, was you would have to raise your hand and ask a hypothetical with the word bingo. Because it was the same people. It was easy to predict. Eventually it got so easy, it was like the same 5 people every class.
Yeah, and this is like a good old boy thing. It was like, so there was this really interesting case that we're going to have to deep dive in involving paternity and being on the birth certificate. And then these people acted like it was the first time they'd ever heard anything like this, which is
that
not.
was a little alarming.
Oh, it was super alarming.
I could almost name the cases that apply, but they were acting like this is something, this is a new kind of thing. But
no, it's not at all. But one of the attorneys, I guess, had stood in for another attorney the week before, which is so common, it's insane. Like, Hugh's on vacation. He asked me the week before, hey, if I get anything in Division 2, will you cover it? No big deal. You know what I mean? So this attorney, and it was all this buddy, was like, Your Honor, I just want to be clear that I was here last week and I don't want my name associated with this case because I don't want to not be here and get a bench warrant. And it was like, shut the actual F up, right?
Yeah, everybody knows that isn't going to happen. It's just why I say, in and of itself, that's innocuous. It's banter. It's all this. But all together, if I'm sitting there from the outside, if I'm in front of this judge against any attorney that's just got this banter and this light, like this very informal tone within the motion hour, it's very hard to think that you're going to come in and there's going to be a serious proceeding where someone's going to be objective about it and all. You just get this feeling that this is just you're walking into somebody else's club.
Exactly. Country club, literally. Like it. And the other thing, half the people in that room are attorneys that were very, 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 very active publicly. Now, I don't know behind the scenes, but publicly they were very outspoken when we in Louisville, and we did have and this is my personal opinion, we had and we still have problems within LMPD. There's good people in LMPD, but they were vocal, and I want them to think about how they would feel if there was a recording of law enforcement talking about serious issues and just kiki and he.
Well, I mean, think about if they were when they were in court on probable cause hearings and stuff like
Yeah,
that, if they had that banter with the
exactly.
judge, would you think that there was any chance as a defendant that you had a prayer in hell? I, and I'm seeing it differently. I feel a little hypocritical saying all of this because when I was in practice and I was sitting there with just tons of cases and I knew I was going to be fighting with people 10 times that day, and you're sort of, you're halfway through and it's just miserable, you appreciate more of the lighthearted stuff. You do, but I couldn't see it from the outside. Like I'm now seeing it from the outside and, looking at it from the point of view of how does this look as a legal tribunal, a place to resolve disputes?
Yep.
It it's not a good look.
Just for the record, I have given him, I don't know, I've never seen The Matrix, but I hear there's this thing called the blue pill and the red pill. And no, but if you take one, it's like now you know the truth. I don't know which one that is, but anyway, he finally took that one. I took it about 2 years ago. I don't know which one it is, but is it blue or red, or is there a purple? I think it's blue and red. But y'all know what I'm
I
talking.
don't remember. It's been a long time. I don't remember which one, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking at it from a different perspective, and I can still rationalize things from the point of view of an advocate.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
much like, the advocates in some of these cases where we think it should go one way, if like, for instance, in this case, one party filed a very good motion to have the judge recuse. The other side opposed it. We're not saying the other side is necessarily wrong. They're advocating for their client.
Yep.
They're making the argument that they can because that's what they're supposed to do. If they didn't do that, they wouldn't be doing their job.
Exactly. And I do think there were two people in that courtroom that I did respect that day in that moment. And I do want to say both their names. I hope that's okay with you because we try
I
to
don't care.
stay out of that. But Abigail Green filed an extraordinary motion to recuse, followed up by an extraordinary affidavit that is now pending before the Kentucky Supreme Court. Holly Houston was opposing counsel on that, and she was a zealous advocate for her client as required by our ethical obligation. I think that any attorney not in the case that was okay with the judge staying on, I would have very, very serious concerns about hiring personally. Would you? Do you agree? Yep.
I think it now gets more complex by what the judge said led to her denying the motion to alter, amend, or vacate. But before I get to that point, Holly, the attorney opposing the motion, argued exactly what you had to argue, that this would be, if you allow this judge, people are going to be looking at every little thing a judge does and will be forum shopping.
She made a legal argument on behalf of her client. I will say the argument, it got really weird. Okay, so this is a case where, if you're just now listening, you've got a custody battle between two moms and a guardian ad litem that's been appointed. GAL basically got decision-making rights when it comes to conflicts between these kids in certain circumstances, right?
And facilitating communications, which is weird.
Beyond weird.
It's agreed to. It's not something the judge came up with.
Right.
The parties came up with it and the GAL agreed, which puts the GAL in one of the most miserable situations one can be in any case. Being the person that has to be between two people who aren't allowed to communicate with each other directly, and you're in charge of conveying the tone and all of the back and forth and whether things have been said out of order. I can't imagine why anyone would ever agree to be in that position.
Well, it would
honestly
be miserable for Hugh Barrow because you had a very successful firm and were making money being a lawyer for clients. But this is a pattern we've noticed with some of these GALs and FOCs. And so this individual that is appointed by the judge, who is billing hundreds of dollars an hour, okay? And so I imagine that if it's as contentious as this case appears to be, we're talking by the time this is over, potentially tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, the choices are, we get things moved through the court system. The court chooses who gets to be the person that makes the decisions and does all of these things, like the custody statutes, would look at. If the parties can't communicate and they can't cooperate, or if everybody wants to try to cooperate, but they want to have this whole weird family court apparatus, like in the middle of it, facilitating it, that's going to cost money. It isn't going to be free. The parties have to get a choice in it. But if they want to just have a trial and see whoever wins, let's do it.
I think they did, but it's not their choice. And this is what's so frustrating about family court is that there's this assumption that if people can't get along, it's because of both parties. And that's not true when it comes to abusive situations.
No, I agree, but
But the GAL has no business being an intermediary. That's the attorney for the child, in my opinion.
no, I agree. It's not the proper role for a GAL, but if the parties want to have someone in the middle and they want to keep this process going, they can do it.
Yeah. Well, this is weird. There's a weird part of this case, though, and this gets to the recusal because there actually was an FOC that was on the case during trial, and the court, sua sponte, which means of her own accord, removed the FOC and then appointed this GAL and then attended her partisan campaign event.
You mean the motion for recusal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grounds
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
recusal.
Yeah.
The motions. The grounds for the requested recusal. And then took the mic at that partisan event. So you can see, I think the fact that the judge sua sponte removed one party, added this party, and then went to her political event does up the ante.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've never considered that aspect of it, but the judge on her own accord removed someone else from the case and put this person who was running for office and, who the judge, allegedly spoke at a fundraising event for. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And people that are going through a divorce, like you said, you're going through the worst time of your life. There's already this heightened sense of paranoia when everybody's getting, involved in your business. This GAL, this was more upsetting to me than what the judge said. So the GAL then takes this stance, which again, we said on previous podcasts, she should have just been like, I'm out. I've got to run for office. I'm out. I am very concerned about what she will do in office as far as empowering or building up the family court system and the fact that she stays in case. And for reference, she works for the firm that was like good old boying earlier in the day. But she's like, well, we have two bodies that disagree because we've got the ethics committee for the judges that say this is fine, because that's what the judge says, and we'll get to that. And then the attorney called the ethics hotline and said the attorney need to file because this is an appearance of a conflict, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So why did the GAL take that stance? Like, was she just being a politician, just like, I'm not going to say anything?
Well, she didn't weigh in either way, which I think from a GAL point of view was the smart thing to do. If you're going to stay on the case, don't weigh in. And I think it had not been said at that point at the motion hour yesterday. I know it was in the original motion. I know it was argued at motion hour that Ms. Green, the attorney that is asking for recusal, called the ethics hotline and was told that yes, this appears to be something that would require recusal, and then she filed. It was not brought up yesterday. So to me, the GAL raising that because the judge had just raised the fact that she had gotten an opinion on something was just, to me, I interpreted it a different way. I thought, oh yeah, that's a really good point. No one brought that up, that we do have two totally different bodies that are advising two different ways. Now I'm interested to know what the questions were in each of those, because if the judge asked, did I do anything wrong by attending the event? And they said that she didn't, that still doesn't go to the heart of the recusal question.
Exactly.
Remember, everyone, we're not saying that Judge Sentry can't be unbiased or objective.
Right.
That's not the standard. It's just that there's an appearance of it. I have no doubt that she's able to handle a lot of, she has strong personal opinions and she has to put aside every single day on that bench. And she should. She's a human. We're entitled to.
Of course.
People that don't have strong opinions on things I worry about sometimes. But the standard here isn't whether she did anything wrong. And I think that's one of how this sort of got off the rails, is she took it as an accusation that she did something wrong. The standard is, does this create the appearance that you can't be objective? And I don't see how anybody can say that it doesn't. So
exactly.
Did she ask the judicial ethics people, does this create an appearance? And they said no. Or did she just ask, did I do anything ethically wrong? And if they said no, that doesn't matter.
Well, yesterday in motion hour, I'm like panicking. I'm sitting here with like my Donald Trump thumbs, just like sitting here saying all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, on my Insta story. Because I literally did not know, y'all, that there was a judicial ethics hotline. I did not know that. I knew there was a judicial conduct commission. And so I was like, wait a second, did she call the JCC? Because that's a real problem if she called the JCC. That's the board where you file lengths. So I did find there is a judicial
Oh,
ethics
yeah. Oh,
hotline.
yeah.
I called them and said, "Hi, my name is Christine, and I've never had a complaint." I throw that in there because I do think after 15 years that speaks volumes, but I digress. And so this person that I spoke to said essentially I can neither confirm nor deny whether an opinion was sought. Like everything is confidential. And what I can tell you is that if a judge hypothetically asks for an opinion, that opinion, the judge can do whatever they want with that. Shelly Sentry, give me that opinion and give it to me now.
Well, I'd be interested to see. And mainly, again, I'm wondering what the question was that was answered, because it may not have been pertinent to the motion for recusal.
Yep.
It's, again, Abigail Green, when this began, it was just a motion stating that there was an appearance and that you have to recuse because of it. That's the standard. Then it became something more when it shouldn't have.
Yeah, and I think that I agree. That motion was really good, and it was the reaction in court that upset. And every woman who's ever worked for a degree, you as a female, if somebody says something to you in a professional setting, do not ever respond with, "I'm not mad." Okay? That's embarrassing AF for us. The judge did initially said, "I'm not mad at you for filing the motion." And then Judge Santry went on yesterday to say, I've got a lot of heat for saying I'm not mad. So I'm going to reiterate again that I'm not mad. And it's
Yeah.
like, attorney, a licensed professional, filing a extraordinarily well-written by law motion should never make anyone mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if a judge was like, I'm mad that you a woman judge being like, if you filed a bond reduction motion in a SA case and the judge being like, "I'm not mad that you filed this." That's our fucking job. It just, I could go on a tangent.
Well,
it's so upsetting.
It's so much worse in this situation, because it's one thing to say, "I'm not mad." I know, regardless of whether you're male, female, it's hard for an attorney to file in front of a judge they practice in front of a lot of times and ask to recuse. It's something that takes some bravery. You have to sort of hold your breath and hope the reaction isn't all that bad. But the way you say, "I'm not mad," without having to actually say it, is rule on the motion objectively, and don't have a tantrum and and lash out very personally on paper.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have to say it if you didn't react on paper in a "I know you are, but what am I" sort of way.
Hysterical woman. Seriously. No, I don't care. I'm a woman. I can say it. It's like, I'm allowed. But I mean, honestly, watching it, I still can't believe it. And I did a video and I was in Florida when it happened. And I remember immediately being like, this judge on a scale of 0 to 10 being retaliatory is not retaliatory. And I meant it at the time.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
clearly I was wrong. That was bad.
Yeah, I don't take it as retaliatory. I took it as she took the motion personally, and no matter how many times she says, "I'm not mad," you still took it personally. Now, whether she's retaliatory, I would imagine, and I actually believe that if nothing else happened and the case went forward and it was litigated, that I've known this judge long enough that I don't believe that she would retaliate in her ruling in that case. She might overcompensate, in fact, to make it look like she wasn't, except for I worry because of the nature of the response, her initial ruling on the motion. I don't know. I might have filed. Yeah, would have filed an additional motion instead of a motion to alter, amend, or vacate. I would have done that too, but I might have filed an additional motion to recuse just based on the order on recusal.
Now, Abigail Green has under 26A. I misspoke. In previous podcasts, I said Chapter 31. It is 26A, so filed an affidavit and moving to disqualify Shelly from the case at the Kentucky Supreme Court pursuant to our rules. And as soon as we know, we will let y'all know. And then we just have to remember, too, at the heart of all of this is literally a family that's obviously going through something. It appears from my limited knowledge that both parties have zealous advocates on the case. And it's just unfortunate that persons have exacerbated the situation.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it can get sorted out, but I think it's been a distraction. I think it was unnecessary, and I think that it's it's representative of a lot of what we see all the time. I think it was something that it was definitely worth highlighting and pointing out because it is not uncommon for these situations to happen, although we were surprised where it happened.
Yeah, that's true. And it was very clear from what she said yesterday, we were in the audience, but that this judge at least is watching us. So for all the judges listening, get to work on time. Next week, we will talk about the mom that was remanded to custody by Judge Lauren Ogden.
That happened? See ya.
That was good. I'm actually glad. We've got to remember this. I need to get a little...
We need some justice. My life is fine, justice.